They thought they were alone in the night, but some bonds refused to be broken. The moon hung low over the pine ridge forest, pale and slanted, casting long shadows across the gravel path. Rain-slicked leaves shimmered like tiny mirrors, each droplet catching the faint light of the distant town. Alex Carter, a 32-year-old Marine, sat silently, his breath forming thin clouds in the chill air, hands clenched as he listened to the soft rhythm of the tires crunching over the wet gravel. The forest was alive with whispers of wind, branches creaking under their own weight, and somewhere beyond, the steady drip of rain from the canopy above. In the stillness, Max, a 6-year-old German shepherd with a sable coat and amber eyes that flickered like lanterns in the gloom, lifted his nose to the air, ears pricked, muscles taut. He had been waiting for this moment, sensing danger in the subtle shifts of scent, the faint vibrations through the earth that only a creature like him could perceive. Every step Alex took, every breath he drew, was mirrored by Max, the bond between Marine and K9 unspoken but palpable, a history of missions and silent companionship echoing in each movement. The distant rumble of tires grew louder, mingling with the low whisper of the wind through the pines, and Max's paw pressed into the mud, alert, every hair on his back stiffening. He could feel the fear, the uncertainty that threaded through the night air, but also the unwavering determination that had been trained into him, honed over years of shared trials. A flash of lightning cut across the sky, illuminating the forest in stark white, revealing the slick path ahead, glistening like glass, the shadows of branches forming twisted shapes on the ground. Alex exhaled, the sound barely audible, a mix of anticipation and quiet fear, but Max's eyes held steady, locked on the faint tracks that would lead him to his human. The scent of wet pine and earth clung to them both as they moved, the rhythm of their steps in harmony, silent communication passing between them, a dance of instinct and loyalty. Somewhere deep in the forest, a figure moved with purpose, unaware that every subtle sign, the crushed leaves, the broken twig, the shift in wind, was being observed, interpreted, and followed with precision. Max pressed forward, tail low but tense, nose to the ground, following a trail invisible to any human eye, guided by trust and an unbreakable bond, his paws leaving impressions in the soft mud as he closed the distance between him and the Marine. The night stretched on, heavy with mist and the scent of rain-soaked foliage, the stars hidden behind thick clouds. And yet, through the darkness, through the isolation of the forest, the promise of reunion hung like a quiet heartbeat, unspoken but undeniable, as Max led the way with unwavering resolve, every sense attuned to the life he had been sworn to protect. The rain had not ceased, but the forest seemed quieter, as though it were holding its breath for what was to come. Alex Carter could feel the chill seeping through his jacket, damp and clinging to his skin, yet he moved with a careful rhythm, aware that every step mattered. Max padded alongside him, muscles coiled, eyes scanning each shadow, nostrils flaring to capture every hint of scent carried by the wind. The trail they followed was subtle, marked by crushed leaves and broken twigs, yet Max interpreted each sign with patience and precision, a living map guided by instinct and unwavering loyalty. Mist rolled in low over the ground, curling around the roots of pines and the wet trunks of old oaks, making shapes that danced and shifted with the breeze. The air was dense with the smell of wet earth and pine resin, mingling with the faint tang of metal from a distant structure, signaling that they were nearing the source. Alex, heart steadying despite the tension, felt a strange calm in the presence of his companion, the rhythm of Max's steps echoing the steady beat of his own pulse. Memories of past missions and quiet moments of trust flashed through his mind, a silent dialogue of eyes and gestures, of shared understanding that needed no words. A distant light glimmered between the trees, diffused by the mist, and Max adjusted his pace, ears tilting forward, tail low but moving with subtle signals of alertness. The crunch of gravel underfoot echoed faintly, and Alex caught glimpses of movement ahead, a shadow shifting slightly, as if it too were aware of their approach. Each step Max took seemed deliberate, a combination of intuition, training, and the pure determination to reach the Marine he had been connected to through so many unspoken promises. The Forests seemed endless, yet the signs grew stronger, a fabric of clues woven into the damp soil and fallen needles, each one guiding them closer. The wind carried whispers of branches brushing against one another, and Max's paw paused momentarily, nose to the ground. Then he nudged Alex gently, urging forward, a silent reassurance that they were on the right path. Shadows lengthened as the night deepened, yet the bond between Marine and K9 seemed to create a pocket of clarity amidst the murk, a narrow corridor of certainty that stretched ahead. Alex breathed in slowly, letting the damp air fill his lungs, feeling the warmth of purpose spread through him as he followed Max, trusting every movement, every decision made by the animal who had been trained to save lives not just through strength, but through attention, loyalty, and understanding. A soft glow appeared ahead, not harsh but steady, illuminating the outline of a vehicle partially hidden by the trees, and Max stopped briefly, ears pricked and muscles taut. Then, with a subtle signal, continued, drawing Alex along, the path narrowing yet certain, each step a testament to their connection and the quiet promise that no one loyal would ever be left behind. The vehicle ahead had come into clearer view, its edges softened by the mist, yet unmistakably still. A parked white van nestled between the trees, headlights dim, but casting a faint glow that reflected off the wet leaves. Alex Carter could hear the subtle shifts of the tires and the gentle squeak of the metal as it settled on the uneven ground. Max paused for a heartbeat, nose twitching, sensing both the presence and the distance that separated them from Alex, then lowered himself closer to the earth, moving with deliberate precision, guiding Alex through the narrow path of mud and puddles that had formed from the constant rain. The night air was thick and cold, carrying the combined scent of pine, wet soil, and the faint trace of leather from the van, a signal that Alex was drawing near to the point where the K9 could act. Each footstep seemed louder in the silence, echoing through the misty forest, yet Max remained calm, his eyes scanning every shadow, every flicker of movement that might indicate the next step along the trail. Alex felt the strain in his legs, the chill that had soaked through his uniform, but the steady presence of Max at his side lent him courage, a quiet reassurance that they were moving together, each attuned to the other in a rhythm born of trust. The mist swirled around the tree trunks, sometimes revealing a glimpse of a branch, other times masking the path entirely, yet Max's instincts never faltered. He moved with a deliberate grace, ears erect, tail low and steady, occasionally glancing at Alex to ensure he was keeping pace. Shadows stretched and twisted around them, the forest breathing with the sound of dripping water, the gentle hum of distant wildlife, the occasional rustle of unseen creatures moving through the underbrush. A sudden shift in the air, a faint change in the wind, alerted Max to a new scent, one that made his muscles tense in anticipation. He nudged Alex lightly with his shoulder, encouraging him forward, signaling that the van was close, just beyond the bend. Alex's heart quickened, a mixture of anxiety and relief mingling in his chest. Yet he focused on each careful step, the ground slick beneath his boots, each movement synchronized with Max. The K9's paws pressed into the mud, leaving impressions that told a silent story of determination and loyalty, a path of guidance through the uncertainty of the forest. The van was now fully visible, its shape partially obscured by the heavy fog, yet the subtle cues, the glint of the metal, the faint sound of shifting inside, confirmed what Max had been signaling all along. Alex exhaled slowly, the cold air filling his lungs, and for a moment, the forest seemed to pause with them, as though holding its breath for the final approach. Max stepped slightly ahead, nose low, body taut yet controlled, every sense focused on ensuring Alex reached safety, the bond between Marine and K9 unbroken, unyielding, a living testament to the quiet courage that had guided them through the forest and to this moment. Max paused at the edge of the forest, ears alert, amber eyes scanning the dim glow of the van as the rain continued to fall in steady sheets, soaking the pine needles and dripping from the low-hanging branches. Alex Carter's boots sank slightly into the muddy ground, each step measured, careful not to slip, yet propelled by the quiet determination that had carried him this far. The sound of water running off leaves created a rhythm that mingled with the soft crunch of Max's paws against the wet earth, a soundtrack to the tense anticipation that filled the air. Max tilted his head slightly, picking up a scent carried by the wind, a mixture of the damp forest and the faint trace of the vehicle, and pressed forward, tail low but controlled, signaling Alex to follow. The path narrowed as they approached the side of the van, the fog and rain blending into a silver-gray haze, blurring the outlines of the trees and underbrush. Yet Max navigated it with precision, muscles rippling under his wet coat. Alex's heart beat steadily, matching the rhythm of his companion, every sense attuned to the movement and cues that Max provided. The bond between them unspoken but deeply felt, forged through shared missions and trust. A soft shimmer of light reflected off the van's surface, hinting at its contours and revealing the gentle sway of its tires as it rested on the uneven ground. Max's nose twitched as he caught a new layer of scent, faint and fleeting, yet significant, and he nudged Alex with a careful pressure, urging him to move closer to the point where the path and their effort would converge. The wind carried whispers of the forest, leaves brushing together, a bird calling softly in the distance, creating a symphony of quiet sounds that heightened the awareness of every movement. Alex adjusted his stance, feeling the tension in his legs and the dampness in his jacket, yet comforted by Max's steady presence, the reassurance that they were moving in synchrony, that each step was guided by instinct and unbreakable loyalty. Max advanced a few paces ahead, scanning the perimeter, and then looked back briefly, eyes meeting Alex's with a glance that conveyed both warning and encouragement. The rain softened slightly, allowing the faint scent of pine and wet soil to mix with the metallic trace near the van, and Alex followed, senses heightened, every nerve alert, yet guided by the unwavering confidence of his German shepherd. Mist swirled around their legs, curling and dissipating in the subtle currents of air, and the faint glow of the van's outline grew clearer, marking the next phase of their journey, the moment where preparation, patience, and loyalty would converge. Max's paws pressed into the mud, leaving precise imprints, a trail of dedication and focus, every movement deliberate, leading Alex through the forest toward the light, toward safety, toward the reunion that had been the quiet promise whispered between Marine and K9 since the first day they had met. Alex Carter felt the cold pressing deeper into his bones as he crept closer to the van, every step deliberate, careful not to disturb the subtle balance of sound and shadow around them. Max moved ahead with measured grace, muscles rippling beneath his wet coat, nose low to the ground, eyes flicking constantly to the edges of the fog, reading signals invisible to any human, guiding Alex along the safest path through the slick, rain-soaked forest floor. The mist swirled between the trunks of the tall pines, clinging to the branches and curling around their legs like a living presence, softening the edges of the world and amplifying every faint sound. The distant drip of water, the rustle of leaves under an unseen creature, the gentle hum of the wind as it wound through the canopy. Alex drew a slow, steady breath, feeling the rhythm of his heart in time with Max's cautious steps, the scent of wet earth and pine filling his senses, grounding him even as tension coiled in his chest. The glow from the van grew subtly brighter, reflected off the wet surfaces of the leaves and mud, revealing more detail with each passing second, and Max responded immediately, ears swiveling to capture every nuance of sound, nostrils flaring to interpret the faintest trace of Alex's presence within the structure. Each step they took seemed to resonate with the forest itself, a dialogue of motion, scent, and intention that guided them closer to their goal, the quiet promise of reunion threading through the tension of the night. Alex could see Max's muscles shift with purpose, the controlled power in his gait, a physical manifestation of focus and loyalty that inspired courage and patience within him. The path narrowed further, roots and puddles challenging each movement, yet Max navigated them with the assurance of experience, sniffing, adjusting, signaling, a master of the subtle interplay between environment and instinct. The air was heavy, rich with the scent of rain-soaked pine, wet soil, and the faint hint of leather from the van, a complex layer of odors that only Max could parse with perfect clarity, leading Alex step by step toward safety. The mist continued to swirl, shifting and revealing glimpses of the vehicle, and Alex's anticipation grew, tempered by the steady reassurance of Max's presence at his side. Every sound was magnified in the quiet of the forest, every movement of branches and leaves informing Max's decisions, every breath Alex took aligning with the rhythm of the K9's progress. The van's silhouette became clearer as they approached, headlights casting a soft reflection on the wet ground, hinting at the presence of Alex's fellow Marine inside, waiting and unaware of the precise, careful approach that was bringing him into view. Max paused briefly, ears up, amber eyes scanning, then gave a subtle nod with his body, encouraging Alex to advance, a silent cue that the final steps were near, the forest holding its breath as the loyal dog guided the Marine through the last stretch of shadow and mist, every sense alert, every step a testament to the bond that had brought them through the dark and rain to this moment of quiet, unfolding hope. The mist parted slightly as Alex Carter and Max approached the van, revealing the texture of the wet metal and the faint outlines of its windows reflecting the dim forest light. Each step Alex took was careful, boots pressing into the soft, rain-slicked soil, mud clinging to the treads, while Max moved ahead with precision, paws pressing firmly but silently into the ground, nose low and ears constantly adjusting to the subtlest shifts in scent and sound. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, yet it left the foliage dripping, the pine needles slick and heavy, small streams of water weaving through the roots and pooling in depressions along the path. Alex's jacket was damp, pressed against his back, yet he felt a sense of focus and calm growing in him, anchored by Max's unwavering presence. The forest seemed to breathe around them, each branch swaying gently, the mist curling and twisting with the breeze, carrying scents that spoke of the van, the distant town, and the damp earth beneath their feet. Max paused momentarily, nostrils quivering as he identified a new scent, a slight shift that indicated proximity, and then he pressed forward again, a quiet urgency in his movement, tail low but controlled, eyes bright and alert. Alex followed without hesitation, every muscle tuned to the rhythm of the forest and the K9 guiding him, the bond between them deepening with each step, unspoken, and yet profoundly understood. The van was now only a few feet away, its shape more defined, the tires resting unevenly on the muddy ground, and Alex could feel the tension in the air, the subtle vibrations through the soil, the quiet murmur of water flowing from the canopy above. Max's body shifted, coiled and ready, every sense honed to the task, and Alex matched his pace, heart steadying, breath measured, trusting the instincts of the dog who had been his companion through countless challenges. A faint flicker of movement within the van drew their attention, and Max responded immediately, ears pivoting, muscles rippling as he adjusted his approach, signaling Alex to move closer, yet remain silent, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of anticipation and suspense. The forest around them seemed to hold still, shadows deepening as the mist thickened, yet the clarity of their mission remained, a path defined by loyalty, instinct, and quiet courage. Alex felt the rhythm of Max's breathing and the press of his paws on the soft earth, the connection between them guiding every step, every careful movement closer to the moment of reunion, the point where trust, patience, and perseverance would converge in the quiet unfolding of hope. The drizzle continued to coat leaves and branches, the faint smell of wet pine mingling with the metallic tang near the van, and Max pressed on, leading Alex along the final stretch, body taut but controlled, eyes fixed, guiding his human through the fog and rain with unyielding determination, every sense alert, every step a testament to the quiet power of loyalty and the promise that they would reach the goal together. Max's ears twitched as he caught the faintest sound, a whisper of movement coming from the van, and his body tensed with a quiet readiness. Alex Carter moved cautiously behind him, boots sinking slightly into the soft, rain-slicked ground, yet each step carried the calm determination that came from trusting the instincts of his companion. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, mist curling in slow spirals around the trunks of the pines, droplets falling from branches in irregular patterns that glistened in the dim light. Max lowered his nose closer to the ground, taking in the complex layers of scent that wove through the damp air, discerning the exact position of Alex's fellow Marine with a focus that was precise and unerring. The glow from the van reflected softly against wet leaves and mud, providing just enough visibility to guide them, yet shrouding details in a veil of uncertainty that heightened awareness and sharpened senses. Alex adjusted his jacket against the chill, feeling the weight of the rain on his shoulders, yet finding a steady rhythm and step with Max, matching his careful, measured pace, the silent communication between man and dog a constant reassurance. Mist shifted with the wind, curling around their legs, revealing glimpses of the uneven terrain, puddles, and routes that had to be navigated carefully to avoid slipping. Yet Max moved with fluid grace, alert and watchful, every movement deliberate and intentional. The scent of wet pine mixed with the subtle trace of the vehicle, creating a trail that Max followed instinctively, each paw pressing into the soft ground and leaving a temporary imprint of the path they had traveled. The air was filled with a quiet tension, the sound of the drizzle punctuated by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant trickle of a small stream. Yet the focus of both Alex and Max remained singular, eyes and nose attuned to the signals that would lead them to the exact location. Max stopped briefly, ears pivoting forward, muscles rippling under the damp fur, then nudged Alex with a gentle pressure that conveyed urgency without alarm, a silent direction that they were nearing the point where presence and action would converge. Alex felt his heart steady, breath measured, every sense heightened by the K9's anticipation, the rhythm of the forest and the rain providing a backdrop to the careful approach. Shadows and mist shifted around the van, creating layers of light and dark that Max interpreted with precision, guiding Alex closer, a quiet orchestration of instinct, training, and loyalty that had been honed through countless missions and moments of shared understanding. The subtle scent of leather from the van mixed with the earth and pine, signaling proximity, and Max's tail shifted slightly, a controlled motion of encouragement, urging Alex to advance just a few more steps, each one bringing them closer to the moment where patience, trust, and unwavering commitment would meet in the quiet fulfillment of their shared goal. The forest seemed to exhale as Alex, Carter, and Max reached the final stretch, mist swirling thickly around their legs and the faint glow of the van reflecting softly through the fog. Max's paws pressed firmly into the saturated ground, leaving a trail of careful imprints as his amber eyes locked on the target, each movement deliberate, muscles coiled with quiet anticipation. Alex followed closely, boots sinking slightly in the soft, muddy earth, jacket damp but clinging comfortably, heart steady with a focused determination, each breath measured and synchronized with the rhythm of his companion. The gentle patter of rain on leaves created a soft percussion, blending with the distant trickle of a small creek and the whisper of wind weaving through the pines, forming a subtle soundtrack that heightened awareness and sharpened senses. Max lowered his nose momentarily, analyzing the complex layers of scent, reading the environment in ways that Alex could only sense intuitively, and then nudged him lightly, signaling the approach was near. Shadows twisted and merged in the mist, the outlines of branches and trunks forming a shifting maze. Yet Max navigated with unerring precision, ears pivoting to detect even the faintest sound, tail low but attentive, eyes bright with purpose. Alex's pulse quickened slightly, not from fear but from the surge of anticipation, the culmination of patience, trust, and training that had guided them through the forest to this very point. The van's details grew clearer with each step, the faint reflection of rain-slicked metal, the contour of the tires resting unevenly on the ground, each subtle sign confirming proximity. Max adjusted his pace, stepping ahead just enough to guide Alex, body taut but controlled, every motion calculated to maintain both stealth and direction. The scent of wet pine, soil, and the faint trace of leather or rubber from the van combined into a complex map that Max read effortlessly, signaling exactly where Alex needed to go. The air was heavy with moisture, cool against Alex's skin, mingling with the earthy aroma of the forest floor, creating an atmosphere thick with suspense yet suffused with the quiet certainty of loyalty guiding them forward. Mist swirled in delicate tendrils, framing the path, softening edges, making the forest feel both expansive and intimate. every detail magnified by the contrast of light and shadow. Max paused briefly, muscles rippling, nostrils flaring, then moved with a subtle, urgent grace, drawing Alex forward, communicating without words that the final approach was moments away, that each careful step would bring them closer to the point where vigilance, patience, and unwavering bond would meet in the quiet promise of reunion and safety, the culmination of effort, instinct, and trust that had carried them through the night. Max froze for a fraction of a second, nose quivering as a new, sharper scent layered into the mix, guiding him to a precise spot beside the van. Alex Carter moved in careful synchronization, boots sinking into the wet soil, jacket clinging damply against his back, every muscle alert but controlled. The mist curled around their legs like slow-moving ribbons, and the rain-soaked branches dripped rhythmically, creating a subtle, natural percussion that filled the stillness of the forest with a delicate tension. Max's amber eyes flicked from shadow to shadow, interpreting the faintest movement, the subtlest shift in air, as he adjusted his pace, moving fluidly and with purpose, his body a perfect combination of strength and grace honed over years of service and training. Alex felt the steady presence of his companion, the reassurance of Max's instincts guiding them through the soft darkness and into the clarity of proximity, every step bringing them closer to the focal point of their efforts. The van's outline grew sharper, the contours of its damp metal reflecting the soft light filtering through the mist, and the faint sound of shifting within reached Max's keen ears. Tail low but alert, he shifted direction slightly, nudging Alex in the right path, urging him forward without a sound, communicating through the subtle pressure of body and eye. The forest around them seemed suspended, each drop of water on leaves, each rustle of the underbrush, magnified in the stillness, creating a rhythm that both heightened their senses and guided their actions. Alex inhaled deeply, the earthy scent of wet pine and rich soil filling his lungs, grounding him, steadying his focus, every nerve attuned to the cues Max provided. The mist swirled in delicate tendrils, moving with the wind, revealing glimpses of the uneven terrain, puddles, and exposed roots that required careful navigation. Yet Max moved over each obstacle with flawless precision, nudging Alex as necessary to maintain balance and alignment. A soft reflection of light glimmered off the van's surface, creating subtle shadows that danced across the wet leaves and mud, signaling the near completion of their careful advance. Max's movements remained deliberate, each step calculated, muscles rippling under his wet coat, nostrils flaring and ears pivoting to process every nuance of scent, sound, and movement. Alex matched his pace, breath controlled, heart steady, the quiet communication between human and K9 a seamless exchange of intention and trust. The van was only a few feet away now, the final stretch of misted forest before the culmination of their journey, and Max pressed forward with unwavering resolve, guiding Alex with silent assurance through the damp undergrowth, over slippery roots, and around small puddles, every movement an embodiment of loyalty, precision, and the quiet certainty that they were almost at the point where patience, focus, and unspoken bond would converge into the long-awaited moment of reunion. Max's paws pressed firmly into the soft, rain-slicked ground as he closed the final few feet to the van, his amber eyes fixed intently on the small shadowed figure inside, sensing every subtle shift and movement with acute awareness. Alex Carter followed with careful steps, boots sinking slightly into the muddy earth, jacket damp and heavy, each breath measured, aligning with the steady rhythm of Max's precise advance. The mist swirled in slow eddies around them, curling across the wet undergrowth and catching on low branches, casting the forest in an ethereal, silvery haze, softening edges while heightening every sense. Max's nose twitched as he picked up the faintest scent of Alex's fellow Marine, interpreting the layered complexity of rain-soaked pine, wet soil, and metallic tang with unerring accuracy, every muscle in his body coiled with focused determination. The van's contours became clearer, the subtle reflections of wet metal giving shape to the object of their pursuit, and Max paused for a heartbeat to ensure alignment, tail low and steady, ears pivoting to capture the faintest cues in the surrounding forest. Alex felt the quiet assurance of his companion, the trust and shared history of missions and moments without words flowing through each careful step, guiding him toward the culmination of their effort. The drizzle had slowed, leaving droplets clinging to leaves, forming tiny rivulets that ran down tree trunks and across exposed roots. Yet Max navigated the terrain with the precision of experience, nudging Alex gently when necessary to maintain balance. The bond between Marine and K9 reinforcing courage and composure. Shadows shifted with the lingering mist, creating patterns of light and dark that both masked and revealed the path. Every sound amplified, every subtle vibration felt through the forest floor, translating into signals Max interpreted instinctively. Alex breathed slowly, feeling the damp air fill his lungs, grounding him, steadying his focus as the van loomed closer. Details of the tires, the reflection on the side panels, and the soft glint of glass confirming proximity. Max stepped slightly ahead, shoulders moving with coiled energy, paws pressing firmly, yet silently, nostrils flaring as he analyzed and reanalyzed the environment, alert to every nuance, every cue that indicated they were moments away. Alex moved in careful sync, the rhythm of his heart matching the assured movements of his companion, each step deliberate, attentive, guided by the K9's instinct and intelligence. The mist parted briefly to reveal the van fully, the muted glint of metal against wet leaves and mud, signaling that the distance had closed, the final stretch defined, the moment of contact imminent. Max adjusted his stance, muscles flexing, tail low but responsive, eyes bright with purpose, nudging Alex with subtle pressure, conveying the quiet assurance that their long journey through the damp forest, the fog, and the night had reached the verge of resolution, every sense focused on the last measured steps that would bring them to the culmination of patience, loyalty, and unwavering trust. Alex Carter stepped carefully into the clearing beside the van, the soft drizzle of rain creating a gentle patter on the leaves above, while Max moved just ahead, alert and poised, muscles rippling under his wet coat, amber eyes scanning and analyzing every detail of the immediate surroundings. The ground was slick with mud and fallen pine needles, yet each step was deliberate and controlled, the rhythm between man and dog a seamless exchange of motion and intent. The mist curled and swirled through the forest, moving around tree trunks and low branches, forming shapes that seemed alive, shifting subtly with the wind, yet Max navigated them effortlessly, sniffing, listening, and adjusting his path with the precision of instinct and training combined. Alex drew in a slow breath, filling his lungs with the scent of wet pine, rich earth, and the faint metallic hint from the van, grounding himself and steadying his focus as he followed the quiet guidance of his companion. Every subtle sound, the drip of water from leaves, the soft rustle of small animals hidden in the underbrush, the distant echo of wind through the canopy, was processed by Max, informing each movement and providing Alex with an almost tangible sense of direction and purpose. The van's outlines became sharper, the reflections of rain-slicked metal catching what little light filtered through the mist, while the damp soil and puddles underfoot offered a rhythmic accompaniment to the careful advance. Max's tail remained low and controlled, signaling a blend of focus and assurance, while his paws pressed into the ground with a calculated force, leaving a trail that marked their steady progress through the quiet night. Alex felt the bond between them deepen, a mixture of trust, understanding, and shared experience, as he followed Max over roots and through puddles, navigating the subtle undulations of the forest floor with cautious determination. The mist thickened briefly, softening edges, blurring distances, yet Max adapted immediately, sensing every nuance, adjusting his stride, and guiding Alex toward the exact point where their patience and diligence would yield the culmination of their careful pursuit. The soft glow reflecting off the van and the subtle shimmer of wet leaves indicated proximity, and Max paused briefly, ears flicking and nostrils flaring, then nudged Alex forward with gentle insistence, a silent command and reassurance that the final steps were near. Alex's heart beat steadily, mind focused, every sense tuned to the silent communication between them, the rhythm of breathing and movement, the shared anticipation of a reunion that had been meticulously guided through the night. the forest, and the rain, until both Marine and K9 moved as one, steps perfectly aligned toward the long-awaited convergence of effort, instinct, and unwavering loyalty. Alex Carter stepped fully into the small clearing beside the van, the forest around them quieting as if to mark the significance of the moment, mist curling slowly through the trunks of the pines and over the damp ground. Max moved just ahead, nose low, ears pricked, every muscle coiled in controlled focus, guiding Alex with a precision born of instinct and training. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle, leaving leaves and needles glistening with moisture, puddles forming tiny mirrors that reflected the faint light filtering through the mist. Alex's jacket clung damply to his shoulders, and he inhaled deeply, drawing in the earthy scent of wet pine and rich soil that mingled with the subtle metallic hint from the van, centering his focus on the moment at hand. Max paused for an instant, nostrils flaring as he detected a subtle new layer of scent, a quiet confirmation that their careful advance had brought them exactly where they needed to be. Alex adjusted his stance, boots pressing into the slick forest floor, feeling the rhythm of Max's movement and the weight of the forest around them, each step a measured commitment to trust and persistence. Shadows shifted with the mist, curling and separating, creating a play of light and dark that emphasized the delicate balance between patience and immediacy, and Max interpreted every nuance, tail low but responsive, eyes bright and unwavering. Alex felt a deep sense of calm settle over him, the tension of the night giving way to clarity, guided by the silent communication between himself and his companion, a dialogue built over years of shared experience and unspoken understanding. The van glimmered faintly in the soft light, its wet surface reflecting the subdued environment, and Max led Alex to a position where the path was clear, every movement calculated to maintain both discretion and momentum. The forest seemed to pause, leaves dripping slowly, droplets gathering at branch tips before falling to the ground, and the mist swirled in delicate patterns, highlighting the careful approach of Marine and K9 as they prepared for the final moments of contact. Alex inhaled slowly again, feeling the connection to Max in every step, the quiet certainty of loyalty guiding them, each sense heightened by the damp air, the subtle sounds of the forest, and the proximity of the destination. Max nudged Alex gently, a small but firm reminder to move with care and awareness, and Alex complied, feeling the strength and confidence of his companion bolster his own resolve. The rhythm of their steps, the alignment of attention and intention, and the shared bond of unwavering trust had brought them through the night, through mist and rain, to the edge of the van where the culmination of effort, patience, and fidelity would manifest, the quiet power of connection and loyalty culminating in a still, meaningful presence that marked the triumph of trust and the promise of safe reunion. Alex Carter finally stepped fully beside the van, the mist curling around them in gentle spirals, rain softened to a light drizzle, each drop tracing a silver path down the glistening pine needles. Max, standing slightly ahead, chest rising and falling steadily, amber eyes scanning the small clearing, gave a quiet, low whine that carried the depth of focus, loyalty, and recognition, signaling that they had reached the culmination of their long, deliberate journey through the forest. Alex inhaled slowly, the cool, earthy scent of wet soil and pine filling his lungs, grounding him, steadying his heartbeat, while the subtle metallic hint from the van mingled with the air, signaling the exact position of the presence they had been seeking. The mist swirled in delicate waves, softening the edges of the clearing while amplifying the quiet symphony of natural sounds. The gentle patter of raindrops, the distant rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind moving through the canopy, each note adding tension and clarity to the moment. Max shifted slightly, tail low but alert, muscles rippling under the wet coat, then looked back at Alex with a precise, attentive glance, conveying without words that the path had led to the fulfillment of purpose, that the careful navigation of night, fog, and terrain had culminated in this precise moment of connection. Alex moved a few measured steps closer, boots pressing into the soft, slick ground, feeling the rhythm and energy of Max guiding him, every sense heightened by the shared bond. the silent conversation of glances, nudges, and instinct that had brought them together through uncertainty and suspense. The van, now fully illuminated by the faint ambient light filtering through the mist, seemed to rest quietly among the pines, its wet surface reflecting the soft glow, revealing subtle details while the surrounding mist softened the edges, lending a sense of stillness and anticipation to the scene. Max pressed his paw lightly against the earth, a subtle, deliberate gesture, then nudged Alex forward, signaling the final approach, the culmination of effort, patience, and unwavering trust between Marine and K9. Alex exhaled, feeling the weight of the night lift slightly, heart steady, breath aligned with the cadence of his companion, the forest around them holding its quiet attention as they moved into place. Shadows danced softly across leaves and mud, mist curling in slow spirals, and every sound. The drip of water, the faint rustle of underbrush, the subtle hum of wind, seemed to confirm the moment, magnifying the awareness and presence of both Marine and dog. Max lowered his head briefly, taking in the layered scents one final time, then rose, ears forward, body coiled in calm readiness, signaling Alex that the culmination of their journey was complete, that the patient, meticulous navigation of night, rain, and forest had resulted in the quiet, steady, and deeply meaningful presence of trust fulfilled and loyalty honored. Alex stepped fully into the clearing, the soft drizzle dampening his jacket, the earth beneath his boots firm yet yielding, and he met Max's gaze, amber eyes reflecting mutual understanding and the quiet triumph of a bond tested and proven, the forest around them alive with the gentle sounds of rain, mist, and the culmination of patience, focus, and unspoken communication that marked the true victory of loyalty and trust.